Welcome back to Central Coast Disc Golf. We are here on the back nine, the last section of round 3 of the Innova Blue Ridge Championship at North Cove. I'm Ella Hansen, and I'm joined today by Holland Handley. FPO is on the Boulders course. There's 3 courses on this property. It's absolutely beautiful, and in the FPO division we've had some really nice weather, so able to show off the course's beauty for real, not in the rain.
Yeah, and taking a look at that top 10 there, Kristen with the big lead, 7 strokes. We've got a nice battle kind of going for second place at this point. And here we've got hole 10, 606-foot par 4. You want to throw kind of just a big, ideally right finishing distance line out into that field on the left side. And then we've got a pretty tricky approach into this kind of peninsula-shaped green. I would say it's deceptively far. Ideally, you want to kind of throw something at this tree here on the left and let it kind of trickle down the hill. Anything short and inside is most likely going to be out of bounds.
Yeah, and the out of bounds near the basket really comes close to that circle, and like you said, it's deceptive how close it is.
Yeah, this is a very conservative line from Kristen.
She didn't bite off a ton of distance there. It looks like more of just a par play.
Yeah, you want something a little more like what Hokom's throwing. You kind of want to try to get it finishing towards the right. There are those bunkers that can come into play, but it really makes that second shot easier if you can keep your disc finishing right. And that's a pretty perfect shot from Owen. She's short of the bunkers.
Yeah, finishing that far right tends to be a little more risky, but it puts you in much better position to attack the green.
Going roller here.
Going roller. It was a tailwind. I did not really throw it that good either, so I end up kind of on the far side of the fairway with a lot to bite off for the second shot.
I love the play, though. If that had stood up, you would have gotten a ton of distance.
Yeah.
And Kristen keeping this just super wide. I mean, at this point, she's got a 7-stroke lead. The wind's starting to pick up a little bit. She can kind of afford to play a little bit more conservatively here.
Yeah, and this is one of the harder holes on the course. So getting a 4 on this one is not going to feel too bad at all.
That was a great approach from Owen. She kept it low. She kept it wide.
Sarah throwing, I'm pretty sure that is one of her traces. She's thrown quite a lot out on this course. Getting into circle 2.
And you're kind of forced to throw a flex line here.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about it out of my hand, but a little too nose up. Ended up going out of bounds right.
Yeah, that out of bounds right. I can't tell you how many times I thought I threw a perfect drive just to walk down there and see that I was 40 short Novi.
Yep.
Oh, that needs to sit.
And it did sit down there. Probably about 20-foot putt left for Kristen.
Yeah, Hokom also just laying that up. You got this for your par save. Wow, this is a nice putt.
Thanks. That one felt good.
It's scary too. It does drop off right behind the basket.
Yeah, it certainly does, and that out of bounds comes into play pretty quickly. But I wanted a par.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to know that Hokom's just a little bit ahead of you, and you're not wanting to drop strokes right now.
Yeah.
And you big putted Owen.
I big putted Owen. I think honestly that was the first time in my career that I big putted Owen. So
congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Rare achievement.
Yeah, it is very rare. Very hard to big putt Owen Scoggins.
See Kristen tapping in her par. Looks like Hokom and Owen will do the same. Let's see, how did this one play? This played as the 5th most difficult hole, with only 3 birdies.
Only 3 birdies, including Holland.
Including me. Not to toot my own horn there. But we also had Heidi Lane, also took the birdie here, and Rebecca Cox.
Those are some really good birdies to get on this hole.
Hole 11 is a par 3, 288 feet. You've got 2 options here off the tee. The drone's showing you the forehand or backhand turnover line. We've pretty frequently had a bit of a headwind or a left to right wind that can kind of help push the disc over. There's also a hyzer line if you want to have something that's going to flip up just a little bit and kind of push into this hill. And then this is a pretty scary green to run kind of no matter where you land. It's very easy. Death putt on the left side and a tricky uphill headwind putt on the right side.
Yeah, another one of those holes that is very simple on the caddy book. Looks pretty simple from the tee, but plays a little harder than it looks, I think.
Yeah, definitely. That bogey sneaks up on you.
Kristen throwing a claymore. We saw her absolutely pure this line yesterday.
And she's going that turnover line. But yeah, it looks like the wind just kind of grabbed a hold of that one, and she's off in the rough on the right side.
I think she'll have a bit of a window there, but she was not very happy with the way that shot came out of her hand.
And that was a good bit of turn from Hokom, but fades down the hill. She'll have a putt from just outside the circle. And Owen's going to show us the backhand line.
Playing it out wide. And skipping a bit of a roll to the edge of the circle.
Yeah, she'll have a death putt, but Owen's known for banging those anyway. And then you're taking the forehand line, flexing it over to make sure you get enough width. That was just a little high, huh?
Yeah, didn't quite get as much turn as I wanted. And we this is kind of where we really started to feel the wind, so.
Yeah, you can see that flag moving. Kristen giving that a bid, even though she doesn't really need to.
Just going for a casual throw in, I think.
Just going to flex on you guys a little bit. Yeah. And you've got an uphill headwind putt.
Yeah, glad it sat down there.
Yeah, that's so tricky. The height and the angle is so touchy on those putts.
And I was telling Sarah after this, I really feel like that uphill headwind putt is the toughest one in the game. And she was lucky to get some of that flag there.
Yeah, that could have easily just caught the breeze and ended up about where Owen's standing for the comebacker.
Yep. And Owen just brushing some hair. Actually, I think she said it was a bug that flew in her eye.
And she makes the putt. It was a bumblebee. They had some massive bumblebees out there.
Yeah. Saw a couple of those.
Brush off the bumblebee, bang your circle's edge, death putt, walk away with birdie.
That's Owen Scoggins for you. Good putt from Kristen there. A little bit more up and down movement on that one than I guess she was kind of a tailwind putt.
And you've still got a headwind putt, but no problem.
So Owen taking the only birdie on the card. Checking out this putt again. Look at that beautiful, majestic wobble right into the heart of the chains.
She makes it look so easy.
Nobody putts like Owen.
Hole 12 is a par 3, 297 feet, another island hole. And at this point, it was a pretty strong headwind, which we hadn't really experienced this far. So it makes it really hard to land it, because if you throw something just a little too high, you run the risk of stalling out. You run the risk of pushing into this wall on the right side, which sometimes spits your disc back in bounds, but sometimes it just snags it into the vines.
Yeah, and with the slope in that wall, you would kind of think it would really let those discs roll back, but it's kind of got some bushes and grabby bits that make that
yeah, we see
likely.
Owen's catching the breeze as soon as it starts fading, and it has just no chance of landing in bounds.
And the toughest, the most important thing for the forehand is making sure that you have a gentle landing onto this green, because this hill that Kristen just hit the top of can roll your disc straight back down out of bounds.
Yeah, that was perfect. She kept it nice and low and flat so the wind couldn't mess with it too much. And Hokom putting a good bit of turn on this. Sit.
Yeah, it's a great reaction. I think probably 90% of the discs I saw hit that hillside rolled out of bounds, so it's got to feel good.
Yeah, this is great. Oh, that needs to sit. That was a very overstable disc.
It was a very overstable disc, yeah. It felt really good out of my hand, I think. Just got
and then this
too far on the top of the hill.
This drop zone, very makeable, but very treacherous. I mean, it's so easy to miss and go OB.
Yeah, and you can see just that flag was absolutely ripping.
Yeah, and you just laid that up.
Yeah.
Not interested. I mean, I think of all of the drop zone putts, I think I saw 4 that went OB, including myself.
Yep.
Yeah, this actually played as the second most difficult hole, which is crazy to think a sub 300-foot hole would play as the second most difficult.
Yeah, I think really that added aspect of the headwind today, the stiff headwind, made it play a lot more difficult, especially just with the drop zone putt being such a death putt. And it being Sunday, people hoping to save their pars and potentially hitting cage or airballing and going out of bounds.
And Ohm cleaning up the bogey. Yeah, some big stroke swings there. You and Owen dropping back. Take another look at this push putt from Sarah, just high enough.
Scooching off the top of the rim.
Let's take a look at our leaderboard. Hannah Wynn still holding on to that tied for second place spot. She's 6 down currently. Shredding right now.
Absolute shredder round. Good for her.
Hole 13 is a 225-foot par 3. You got to throw something on a nice hyzer line out this initial gap, and then it's really all down to getting the speed and the height right. You throw something just a little too high and too hyzer, especially in today's headwind. It's so easy to find OB on the left side. And then you throw too low, it's very easy to snag this short hill just right of the basket and then have a pretty scary downhill putt. That being said, it did play as the third easiest hole of the day, so feels like one you really got to get.
Yeah, and it's also the shortest hole on the course, so it feels very important to get a good drive out there.
Ooh, that was probably a good tree hit.
I think so.
Generally, if you hit the ground near the basket, it's almost guaranteed out of bounds.
Sarah playing more of a flip up. Kristen threw, believe a justice on this hole. So pretty overstable.
Definitely a good tree hit. Those justices like to skip.
Yeah.
I think Owen's going back to her destroyer.
Yep.
Oh, this looks high.
Whew. That is a really good sit. That
she knows it. She loves it.
She knew it was a little high out of her hand.
And this looks like your tactic.
Yep. Just trying to play it out wide. Also, probably a good tree hit.
Yeah,
there
you were kind of ramping off the downslope there a little bit, but we take those.
We do.
And Hokom kind of just laying that one up, it looks like.
I think she was trying to give it a little bit of a height, a little bit more height, but that's a bit of a scary bid.
Yep, Owen converting that good break into a birdie.
Kristen in for an easy birdie as well. I kind of wasn't sure. This tree was a little bit in my way, and I really should have gone with the straddle putt. I let that tree get in my head a little bit, and
yeah, looks like you got the nose down a little bit, which you normally like to do more of a floaty nose up putt. That's a bummer.
That felt like a pretty bad miss for me. I was not happy with that.
No. Especially right now, you're trying to battle with Owen.
Yeah, I'm trying to battle back.
Let's take another look at that Owen Scoggins specialty.
Beautiful putt. All that flutter, just money right into the chains.
All right, hole 14, par 4, 612 feet. This is a fun hole.
This is a very fun hole.
It was a little bit of a bummer that it was a headwind today. Like, we never really got a tailwind on this hole, but I feel like if we got a tailwind, there are some people who could eagle, potentially.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is one of the funnest tee shots, I think, on the course.
Yeah, really cool that they designed this course specifically for FPO, and they let us have some of these bigger downhill bomber shots that we normally wouldn't have when we have to share the course with the MPO.
Absolutely. And this one's like a pretty wide open drive, but the upshot can be a little touchy with those hills.
Yeah, and it's a ripping headwind at this point. You can see, Kristen's clothes kind of getting blown back, but she just nails that angle beautifully, gets her drive out in the middle of the fairway. Now I'm going a forehand here. That thing's got to be so beefy.
Yeah.
This is a headwind, and she basically threw it almost 45-degree Anheuser.
Yep. It was a little weird. I think when Kristen and Owen threw, it felt kind of like the wind was down a little bit, and it started to pick up there for Sarah. I'm throwing a new Halo Cloudbreaker.
You've got the whole crowd there. They want the big distance shot.
And
wow.
They got it, but it went.
That's going so far right.
Pretty far right. I had to make sure I'm not hitting any spectators down there.
Yeah, but there's no OB over there once you're past the cart path, so totally fine shot.
Yep.
And Owen's got a bit of work left here.
That wind just holding that disc up, not letting it hyzer out. She goes long of the basket.
Yeah, this hole really reminds me of Goat Hill down in Oceanside.
Yes. One of both of our first Disc Golf Pro Tour tournaments.
That's true, it was, and covered frequently by Central Coast.
Yeah.
And you, even despite going so far right, you still just have a little tactic forehand into the green. A little short.
Yeah. Should have given it a little bit more juice.
Kristen going back to her trusty harp. She gets... Yeah, that's what happens when you snag the backside of that hill, is it likes to roll toward that ditch back there.
I'm just laying it up.
Yeah, that's such a hard putt to run today because it is windy.
Absolutely. And
if you miss it, you're where Owen's standing for your comebacker.
But, you know.
Owen doesn't lay up.
Owen doesn't lay up.
She's cheesing the whole way, running it in. And, I mean, look how far uphill she's having to run.
She loves that.
She had to get you back for that big putt earlier.
She did. Kristen just laying up. She doesn't need to run that. She's got plenty of strokes.
Yeah, Hokom closes it to 7 strokes, but at this point, there's 4 holes left. All Kristen really needs to do is just not make any massive mistakes.
Yeah, even like a couple small mistakes and she would be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, and Hokom, maybe she knows at this point that Hannah's pushing from the chase card, and so she's really got to keep pushing if she wants to snag that second place finish.
Yeah, and worth noting that up here in the mountains on this course, there was not amazing cell service, and so some players, Owen kept asking me if she could look at the scores on my phone. So some players potentially didn't really even know where they were relative to the rest of the field.
That's interesting. Hole 15, 290-foot par 3. Uphill, kind of right finishing shot. You've got all this space to work with on the left side, but if you end up early right, you're going to have a really tricky putt either down into this ditch that's just short of the green or having to navigate through some trees. And weird thing about this hole on this particular day is you had a headwind kind of coming up over that ridge. So as soon as your disc gets above the hill, it gets hit by this big headwind that just wants to push it over to the right.
Yeah, definitely a shot that requires really good angle control, especially if you're going with the forehand play, which, if I recall correctly, everyone on our card was going for.
Yeah, Owen turning that over out of hand to get the distance. And you see it catch that breeze and just get thrown off to the right. I mean, look at those trees. They're moving. But she's in the circle, which is incredible on a day like this.
Even with such a headwind, that going long of the basket on this one is really impressive. And Sarah trying to play the flex and just gets caught up by the wind and sent left down that hill.
Yeah, I mean, there's no OB down there.
And from that angle, there is a pretty open gap up to the basket.
Yeah, I ended up over there today. Not that far left, but there is plenty of room up there. And Kristen puts a nice move on this. Oh, but she gets stuck. That little ditch right there just collects everything.
It really does.
And you kind of scooped that one.
That was a scooper. Yep.
And I mean, you saw like immediately as soon as it got up over the hill, it just got thrown off to the right.
Yeah. All that nose up and the wind's pushing on it. It does not want to fly straight. So Sarah down the hill. Looking to save a par here. Trying to just throw a smooth shot.
Oh, and that wind just grabbed that.
Oh,
this is tricky. Nice, touchy little tactic shot. You made that look way easier than that was. That is a hard spot to get up and down from, especially in this wind.
Yeah.
And then Kristen's got this putt. Oh, man. And I mean, she could just lay that up.
She could, but
she doesn't do that.
No.
I mean, there's really no danger to speak of if you miss that long.
Yeah. Sarah, even edge a circle behind some trees, trying to give it a big Annie run. So that'll be a bogey for her. And I think it's also like worth talking about the context of this tournament with the major coming up, Champions Cup. And, you know, for somebody like Kristen, especially with such a lead, she's probably looking to just play her game and really feel confident in all of her shots, and so that she's feeling ready for the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. This is kind of the warm-up event for the major, kind of testing out some things, maybe making sure your stock shots feel dialed.
Yep.
I mean, great par save right there.
Thanks. Sarah taking a bogey. Close to a couple birdies on this hole, but we didn't grab any on the lead card.
Yeah, Owen's putt just hitting high. Surprising given how strong that tailwind is. I mean, she was putting it hard. She was going for it.
Taking a look. Owen really loves that chop sidearm, getting it all the way on Annie as she releases.
Yeah, taking a look at our top 10 again. Hannah Wynn is still 6 down, battling with Sarah for that second place finish. We've got Deanne Carey also 6 down, creeping up into the top 10.
2 really solid rounds getting laid down by those two.
Hole 16 is a par 3, downhill 330-foot hole. We've got this hazard bunker short and left of the basket, and then also an OB cart path on the right. So here it's, again, all about your height and angle control. You can try to run something straight at it. You can try kind of a wide hyzer and try to control the skip into the green. But it seems like discs, once they start to fade on the backhand line, they really want to just like run down this hill.
Yeah, that hill down to the left is a big collection zone. A lot of people end up left of the basket.
I love this play from Owen. She just overcooks it a little bit and she ends up in that hazard.
Kristen is throwing a fortress here.
Yeah, going that wide hyzer play, trying to place it behind the basket and give herself some kind of putt.
I think that is pretty much the best you can do it on this hole, just throwing something stable really hard at that hillside.
And kind of high out of the hand for you.
I did not like it.
No, you knew right away. Yeah, you're fine. The left edge of that hazard.
Yeah, we had definitely a pretty strong headwind on this tee shot, and I did not play it well.
And Sarah, I think she was trying to go a little bit more aggressive on that. You can tell from the body language, but she lands in bounds.
Yeah, I think she was looking for more of a full flex out of that disc.
Yeah, I wonder if she's... do you know if she was aware of the situation with Hannah?
I'm not sure, actually. So I'm down in this hazard. Feeling pretty good about giving it a run.
Oh, no. What?
And kick off the pin, roll down back into the hazard.
Yeah, that's a common thing on this course, man, is like you can get just the most brutal rollaways that cost you multiple strokes.
Yep. Yeah, one of the tough parts of being in these hazards, I mean, it's a hazard for a reason. Obviously, in traditional golf, it makes a difference on your things, but
what a par save.
Yeah, she doesn't need good footing to make a good putt. Just missing a little bit right for a double bogey, and I was not feeling great about myself on this hole.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, yeah, a little low on that first one, but that pole hit, brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And Kristen making it look so easy.
Beautifully played hole for Kristen.
She's now got a 9-stroke lead going into the final 2 holes.
I believe since that double bogey on hole 1, Kristen just playing really clean golf, didn't let it get in her head.
Yeah, she's still sitting at 4 down for the round with a double bogey and not the friendliest wind conditions on these last 5 or 6 holes.
For sure. Impressive from Kristen.
Speaking of wind, we've got another ripping headwind for you. Hole 17's a 569-foot par 4. It's a very similar shot, I would say, to 14. However, unlike 14, you've got pretty tight OB on both the left and the right sides. The further you throw your disc, it starts to kind of open up the fairway a little bit. Really, you need to get a disc that's going to turn just a touch out of the hand. Otherwise, it's very easy to fade down the hill towards that left side OB. But if you overturn it out of the hand, you can end up in someone's front yard on the right side.
Kristen going with a forehand.
I haven't actually seen this play.
She threw it pretty well from what I saw yesterday, but just overturning it, pushing that left side tree line a little too much.
Yeah, that's tricky because I feel like you have to get it turning, and with this headwind, although Owen's kind of showing us what's intended, with something just really overstable, keeping it low, not letting the wind lift it out of bounds as it fades.
And the nice thing about that forehand is that it really plays to the shape of the fairway well. You can see the cart path kind of going out to the right down the hill. So playing more of a safe shot. Sarah also throwing a really nice forehand.
Yeah, I think that's really the key to this hole on this particular day, is just throwing something almost at the ground, it feels like. Because as soon as whatever you throw, as soon as it starts to fade, that wind's just going to lift it towards OB.
Yeah. I'm throwing an MD3 here. I was kind of debating disking up and throwing a fairway driver, but I'm glad I threw the mid-range.
Yeah, I love that play because you're eliminating a lot of the left to right movement that you get when you throw a faster disc.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're kind of using your superior power to like let you be more conservative and
my superior power. Funnily enough, on this hole, I checked the scores right before we teed off, and I saw that you were one stroke ahead of me, and I was like, I need to birdie these holes so that I can beat Holland.
Nothing more motivating than your friend potentially beating you from fourth card.
So Kristen went out of bounds pretty early and throwing a nice justice shot up there.
Yeah, and that's a great place to run a putt from. I mean, there's not too much danger in going OB if you happen to miss. And Hokom, I like the forehand approach here. You're fading away from the hazard, and she leaves it just outside the bullseye. Really nicely done.
Absolutely.
This looks like a pig from Owen. And she's got a little bit of a scary putt, but I mean, it hasn't bothered her thus far.
No.
So
leaves a little meat on the bone for us.
You actually have an eagle bid here if you want it.
Yeah, I thought about that, but man, that flag just kept picking up, and I did not want to send it long over the basket into the hazard.
Yeah, I think that's a smart play. This is not the day to be going for eagles on this hole, I think. Oh my god.
No fear.
She's so good at putting.
She is so good at putting. She told me that she looks confident, but she's nervous about her putts. And I'm just like, that can't possibly be true.
I don't believe her for 1 second. Nah.
Beautiful putt from Kristen. Saving the par after an early out of bounds.
Not that she even needs it. She just feels very calm and collected as always.
Yeah. This is a pretty important putt for Hokom, I think, to make sure. Oh, dropping her disc.
I guess that doesn't technically count as a throw. I believe it's worded as forward, like with the intention of moving forward.
Yeah.
So no, dropping your disc on accident does not count as a throw. And then just an easy tap in birdie from you. We'll get a little form check for you here.
I don't know why, but
Let me go get my notepad real quick.
Yeah, that one honestly felt like my best drive of the weekend on that hole. So
I mean, it was pretty sweet. It's about 70 feet. I would agree with that. Hole 18, par 4, 609 feet. Again, we've got that same ripping headwind. The wind's also kind of funky on this one because when you're actually down in the valley, you don't really feel or see the effects of the wind. But as soon as the disc is above the hill, you feel the effects of this headwind. But you want to throw something, ideally, I think a forehand, get it out into the field, try to push it as far right as you can, and then give yourself some kind of look into this green. You can kind of just smash something into the hillside and let it scoot up, and then you've got a pretty tricky elevated putt. Oh my gosh, Owen's going the inside line?
Yeah, and she actually hit those trees and went out of bounds on yesterday's round, so she crushed it there. And I know that Owen knows she's got to, I believe, make a birdie to tie for third place.
I like it. This is the play that I think it just shapes so nicely for the hole. She's doing something understable, letting it flip up, but not all the way to flat, and it just carries toward the pin.
Yeah, really well done from Sarah.
And then you're going a little bit more overstable, but you've got so much forehand power that you get about to the same spot.
Yeah, just playing something very stable out there, trying to get it to go right. A beautiful shot from Kristen. It's just so good.
Yep, Hokom going for the sidearm into the green, which I think is the easier play.
And this one, you really got to be controlled about the height, even with the sidearm, just because, like you said, about that hillside and the wind kind of coming down it. If you give too much nose up, kind of like on hole 15, it can shoot your disc where you don't want it to go. I'm just throwing that same cloud breaker.
Oh, yeah. Very nice. And looks like Kristen's going to try to copy your line. Looks like that's her Orbit Rive in her hand.
That looks beautiful.
Yeah, she kept that nice and flat and just absolutely parks it.
If there was any doubt that she was going to win this tournament.
I don't think there was any doubt.
No.
At least not today. Then Owen going the full flex with that really overstable disc. I mean, y'all are basically giving a clinic on how to play hole 18 here.
Sarah laying it up.
I'm assuming she knows what Hannah's score is
before
she decided to lay that up.
Yep, absolutely.
And I mean, this is look how high that basket is. The bottom of the basket's like a full foot above her head. Crazy.
Good putt for Owen to finish her round.
Very nice birdie from you. It's funny, I was standing at the top of the hill and I knew that this was your putt to beat me. And I was telling James and Eric, it's like, there's no way she misses this. She knows it's to beat me.
I did know.
And you did it perfectly.
Thanks.
Kristen Tattar, your 2023 Innova Blue Ridge champion.
Just honestly a
by a casual
wire-to-wire win, you know?
Casual 9 strokes.
Can't really be any more dominant than that. Only a few bogeys through the whole tournament. Just really showing how good she is, showing why she's the best.
Our first Innova Blue Ridge champion, Kristen Tattar.
I mean, that's got to feel so good going into the major next week. Her putt's looking dialed.
Absolutely, yeah. Just really building that confidence. And I think a lot of disc golfers really feel more in their groove the more tournaments they kind of play. So big congratulations to Kristen. And thank you so much for joining us on this coverage of the Innova Blue Ridge Championship. I hope you check out more coverage of this tournament and FPO disc golf in general.
Yeah, make sure you guys subscribe to Central Coast Disc Golf. They're bringing us MPO and FPO for every silver event this year, and they do an amazing job.
And you'll be hearing our voices later on in the year as well.
Yeah, just one more look at our lead card scores. Tattar with that big 9-stroke win. 5 down on the final day with a double bogey.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, wire to wire, she really left no doubt that this was going to be her her tournament to lose.
And taking a look at again, we have Hannah Wynn with that fire 6 down. Deanne Carey with a 7 down. I think that was the hot round.
Yep.
So good for her. She moved up well over 10 spots, I believe, to get her top 10 finish. So,
and big shout out to Hannah Wynn for snagging her first DGPT podium of her career.